Hey guys, my name is Francisco Hernandez, and today I wanted to go over exactly why I sometimes leave the light setups in my photos whenever I use off-camera flash. And not just explain the why, but also show you guys exactly how I remove the light setups from my photos as well. There's actually two very important reasons why I do this, so I wanted to go over what those two reasons are right away. The very first reason is the inverse square law. If you've ever found yourself not having enough power in your flash, then one simple way to use the power more efficiently would be to move the light closer to the subject. With off-camera flash and lighting in general, the further the light is, the weaker it becomes. This is due to the inverse square law, which in a nutshell just means when you move the light further away, it gets weaker very quickly. And a quick example of that inverse square law would be using a 600 watt strobe at, let's say, 1 meter. And then you decide, okay, I'm gonna move it double the distance at 2 meters. Well, now instead of 600 watts hitting the subject, you don't have half of the output, which usually what people think the light becomes, but now you have 1/4 of that light output at 150 watts. Because of the way that that law works, the inverse square law, every single bit of distance will work against you when you move the light further away. So it's very important to be aware of the inverse square law in case you don't have any sort of bigger strobes and only are limited to speedlights at the moment. Knowing that I can use my weaker speedlights more efficiently by getting them closer to the subject has definitely helped me out in the past when I felt like my light just wasn't strong enough. But sometimes I need to get them very, very close to the subject and even in the frame of the shot. And while I could absolutely grab a bigger strobe and move the light further away out of the frame of the shot, just knowing that the closeness is going to be helpful can give you more opportunities in what you want to create, because when it comes to off-camera flash and lighting, with more power comes more opportunities. The second reason why I leave the lights in my shots sometimes is because of soft light, which I really enjoy in my photos. While the first reason of the inverse square law was to justify leaving the lights in my shots when I don't have enough power, well, there are some times where I do have enough power in my lights. I have more than enough power, but I still bring the lights very close to the subject and in the frame of my shots, and it's because of soft light. And bringing the light closer to the subject will really help with that effect. In a video that I made not too long ago, I mentioned different ways to get softer lighting with your off-camera flash, and probably the biggest tip that I mentioned in that video is to bring the light as close as possible to the subject. When it comes to softness with lighting, the bigger the light is in relation to the subject, the softer the light becomes, which could be interpreted as bringing the light closer equals softer light, because anything at a distance becomes smaller. Since I'm a self-diagnosed soft light addict, I can tell you that whenever I'm using lighting, it's pretty much always going to be as close as possible to the subject. So usually if I'm taking pictures with a telephoto lens, I might have it just outside the frame of the shot, but if I'm using a wide angle lens, then yeah, more than likely, probably 9 times out of 10, the light is definitely in my shot. Now that you guys know the two big reasons why I sometimes leave the light setups in my photos, I'm now going to show you how I would remove them. And while you can use the clone stamp tool or other similar tools in Photoshop, the key to keeping this process very simple is to take a plate shot. A plate shot is a shot taken of just the background without certain elements, and in our specific case, that just means taking a photo without the light setup in the way. When taking a plate shot at a photo shoot, it's very helpful to have a tripod, because keeping the same framing is going to be a key element to taking that plate shot. But in case you don't have a tripod and you have shaky hands like myself, it's still very possible to take that plate shot, because I rarely ever use a tripod and I have shaky hands and I've been using this technique for years. But aside from keeping the framing exactly the same or as close as possible to the same, it's also important to keep the same settings, the same focus point, the same lighting conditions, and pretty much everything. Try to keep it exactly the same as the original shot with the light in the way, but now without the light setup for that plate shot. Okay, so now that we're here in Lightroom, I can show you guys exactly how I would take the final shot and the plate shot and put them into Photoshop. If you guys are wondering when you would take a plate shot, it's as simple as taking a photo that you really, really like with a light in the way, like me with this shot, and then saying, okay, like this shot, now stay very, very still and take a shot without the light, which would result in the plate shot, which is right here. On the screen is the behind the scenes while I talk about a little bit of why you would want to work very, very fast in taking the plate shot. The reason why it's important to take that plate shot very, very quickly is because in case you're working in cloudy conditions like I was at this photo shoot, that bit of time that you take the plate shot could result in the clouds going over the sun and changing the whole light that's hitting the ground everywhere, which would change the lighting conditions. And you definitely want to avoid that. You want the lighting conditions and everything else to be exactly the same as that first final shot. Even though it only took me 12 seconds to take the plate shot from the final shot, it did result in the clouds being a little bit more shifted away from where they were when I took that first shot. So they weren't exactly perfect, but still good enough for me to use and to replace or take out the light from the photo. Whenever you take this first final shot and then you take the plate shot, I always try to be very, very still and tell whoever is assisting me to move the light very, very quickly. I actually tell them to just not turn off the light because that would be a little bit more seconds to waste. And I also don't even turn off the transmitter on the light because that would result in me moving a little bit more and risking getting a little bit more out of the same exact framing. So what I usually do is I tell whoever's helping me with the light to just move the light and turn it away, and then I take that second shot. I want it to be exactly the same shot but without the light now. I did make some adjustments in terms of color and exposure to this shot, so it's very important to also make sure that you copy those adjustments and paste them to that plate shot. So whatever adjustments you make to this first shot, definitely apply them to this plate shot. And after you've done that, then what you're gonna do is just make sure that you have the plate shot selected, hold down shift, click the other shot, the final shot, and then right click, go to edit in, and then go to open layers in Photoshop. And now Photoshop is gonna get both of those layers and then just add them on top of each other. Now that we have both the final shot and the plate shot in Photoshop, now we just need to make sure that they're aligned. If you did use a tripod, then more than likely they're already gonna be aligned since you did use that tripod. But if you did it freehand like I usually do, then they're definitely not gonna be aligned. You can see that I definitely shifted a little bit from here, a little bit to the right. So that means that I won't have some section over here in case I wanted a wider shot. But let's go ahead and just start with the aligning. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that I click one of these layers, click the other layer. And now what I'm gonna do is just go to edit, auto align layers, and then keep it on auto and click OK. And now what it's gonna do is just align the images. So now I'm gonna just go ahead and just unselect or hide one layer and the other layer, and you can see exactly how they are aligned. And it's not perfect, but it's very, very close to perfect. So again, that tripod will help you out in keeping the images very, very much aligned. Right now, the image with the light in the way is on the top here. I actually prefer it to be on the bottom, so I'm gonna go ahead and just put it there. And now the image without the light is on top. So what you're gonna do now, while the images are aligned, is just make sure that this one here is selected, the shot without the light, the plate shot. And now hold down Alt and click the mask layer right there on the bottom. And now what that's gonna do is just make sure that it's gonna hide this plate shot, and anything that you paint white in this mask layer is gonna reveal the shot without the light and hide the light setup. So that might sound a little bit confusing, but let me just show you exactly what I mean. Right now, just make sure that you have the brush tool and make sure that you're painting with opacity at 100 and flow at 100. And now just paint over wherever the light is gonna show. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. And basically what's going on now is the light is being hidden, because now what I'm doing is adding that image without the light over this image with the light. So as you can see, it isn't exactly perfect because I did shift from left to right a little bit, which probably resulted, or not probably, but definitely did, result in a little bit more of the right side of the frame. So I have more of that side in case that's important to you. And because the images weren't perfectly aligned, it's gonna have some of this area over here. Where is it? Some of this area over here might be checkered or white, depending on the settings that you have in Photoshop. But right now it shows checkered. So all I have to do now is just pretty much just crop the shot to my liking. And let's just say that I'm doing a landscape orientation for Instagram. So now I just need to make sure that it's cropped however I want it to be. And let's say this is the crop right here. And let's say this is the shot that I wanted, and now the crop is perfect. All you gotta do is edit the shot now and then post it to Instagram. And now you have a successful shot where the light was in the frame of the shot, and then now you removed it using that plate shot. And that's pretty much it. I've applied this method of removing the lights from my images for so many years now. I highly recommend that you guys try it out yourself in case you ever find yourself needing more power from your light, or in case you just really like soft lighting like I do, then I highly recommend trying this technique out. So that's pretty much why I leave the lights in my images and how I remove them. So if you guys have any questions at all about the process or anything else, let me know in the comments and I'll reply as soon as possible. If you guys enjoyed the video, if it helped you out, be sure to give a like and also subscribe to my channel if you aren't. I am doing a giveaway on a whole bunch of Sony Alpha swag that I have accumulated over the years. So be on the lookout for that. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the very next video.